What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at DataDash, and today is April 6th of 2018. Well, folks, it's time for a daily update here on the DataDash channel, and today we have a few different important things to dive into on the update. First and foremost, as always, though, we'll be spending some time looking at market valuations as well as doing some technical analysis on the market leaders. But outside of this as well, guys, we have some really positive news in the crypto space. First, I want to spend some time talking about the SEC's recent announcement to initiate formal proceedings on Bitcoin ETFs, meaning that they're finally going to open up the gates to discussion on Bitcoin ETFs. So, whereas we were thinking this was going to take a much longer time period to get a Bitcoin ETF, we might be getting it sooner rather than later. So more on that later on in the video. And along with that as well, even more positive news in regards to Monex, who's recently acquired Coincheck, confirming its acquisition and also announcing a potential IPO alongside it. So much positive news in the space right now for the few headlines that we have. Let's go ahead and dive into the daily update, guys. So first and foremost, as we were talking about positive news, again, the crypto space isn't exactly taking a positive tone. We do have some players here in the green or remaining neutral, but for the most part, we obviously have some players in the red here across the market. Nothing too serious. Again, just a general sideways day in the market, taking a little bit more of a downside tone. If we go here and take a look at overall market capitalization, again, still holding generally around the $250 billion range, guys. The one thing I'm really curious to see here, it's not so much altcoins really dropping in valuation to that much of a degree. I think generally we might possibly see, again, most bearish case scenarios, Bitcoin going down to 6,000. And if that's the case, you've got another few percentage points to knock off on Bitcoin and a few $1 billion to knock off of market valuation. But for the time being, we're still generally holding around $250 billion. So in that case, markets are looking like they're gaining a little bit of strength and we're starting to accumulate. And again, as well as we talk about accumulation, Bitcoin dominance is still holding around 45%. As well as other coins continuing to gain to the upside here, holding towards the relative highs, almost around 21%, as we continue to see other players deplete. Bitcoin Cash still losing market dominance. Ethereum starting to definitely kind of flatten out here, but again, not really gaining to the upside by any degree, as well as Ripple still holding by thread, and I think it's still going to break through the 200 days. So because of that, I still think we're going to see a continued trend here, guys, of Bitcoin dominance depleting, other coins continuing to gain, and other market leaders continuing to lose dominance alongside Bitcoin here. So again, just my general trend. Nothing's really changed in that sense. Let's go ahead and take a look here at some different technical analysis in regards to the market leaders. Bitcoin, again, still remaining well below the wedge here. We had an opportunity to break up, but again, on the 4th, we came back down with another dramatic sell-off here. And because of that, as we take it here to the hourly, we can see that we're holding again near the lows here, or at least relative lows in April. Still nowhere close towards the lows in February, down towards 6,000. However, nonetheless, I would say that we're definitely still at a mixed period between accumulation, moving to the side on Bitcoin, and still seeing a little bit of downside. We didn't break down below and sell past the previous lows. So because of that, I'd say that we are very well close to getting towards an accumulation period, seeing as for the past 6 days, we really haven't gone to any lower levels. However, again, for price strength confirmation, we cannot continue to see what we saw back here where we have an opportunity to get above the 200-hour and we break through it, guys. It's just not serving as a positive sign. We need to get above the 200-hour here. I don't care if we're moving sideways above the 200-hour or if we're moving up to the well above the 200-hour. We need to get price above there to signal a sign of price strength confirmation. It's one of the best indicators that I've used. It's simple, but at the same time, it does indicate when the market is finally starting to show some price resilience up to the upside. So until then, guys, I'm hoping we'll hold support here, generally above $6,400 for Bitcoin. But for the time being, we'll have to see what happens. Again, we've been having some spontaneous buy candles and sell candles. The institutions are really toying around down here at these lower levels. But I think we're getting very close towards a potential level to where we could start at least I know I'm going to probably be adding to Bitcoin if I have some extra fiat. So going ahead here, let's go ahead and take a look at Ethereum here. Again, Ethereum well below the 200-day here. And it is currently accumulating to the side right now. Now, we'll have to see if it can still hold this level. Again, we've had a double bottom here so far in regards to the daily, but we still see no institutional buying like we saw back in December. And I think that's because price still needs to go down a little bit. It needs to get down towards one of these big events. I still think it's going to be at least at a minimum 5 million Satoshis. That's still my target for this. Again, I'm remaining patient on it. Now, for those of you out there who are big Ethereum bugs, again, you're at more than a 50% discount comparative to the relative highs. If that's the case that you want to add to your position, if you're holding long term, I think you're in the range where you could feel a little bit safe. But again, it's not financial advice, guys. You guys got to decide for yourself. I'm going to wait, though. I'm going to wait till I get a fair price. And I think that is where, when we get towards around 5 million Satoshis, that's where I'll feel a little bit more comfortable. Again, those price levels really matter, guys. Between 5 to 4 million Satoshis, those are really the two last serious levels of support that I found in the past before we got the dramatic sell-off here. So, remaining patient on that. Gonna run through some of these guys. XRP, obviously, same case. We're holding on the 200-day. I think this is going to collapse in the next day or two below the 200-day. Again, you guys know I'm not too positive on it personally. At least I still think it's overextended. Bitcoin Cash here, continuing again to roll over. I'm still confident where I'm staying, guys. 5 million Satoshis is where I'm looking. If you got Bitcoin Cash at 5 million, that would be an interesting position. Outside of that, though, Litecoin to Bitcoin here again. Still trending above the 200-day and below the 50-day, holding in this kind of twilight zone, as I like to call it. We're trying to see if it's going to decide a direction here. Now, we've seen in the past, we've had that before, and it shoots back up, but we're not seeing any resilience in price, but at the same time, no panic selling. It's holding comparatively well to Bitcoin. If we take a look, I usually don't do this, but I'll do it sometimes with cryptos. You can see we've broken below the 200-day on the USD valuation on Litecoin. So what I think you could see here will possibly be probably the most healthy is that you see previous resistance 2 times generally around $100. We didn't exactly get there last time back in September, as well as back here in December we actually did reach 100 before we had the breakout. So I think that'd be a very, very healthy spot to land some support and just hold there. So a few extra bucks down, not a big deal. We might get that if Bitcoin continues to deplete, even if it holds comparatively well to Bitcoin. All right, let's go ahead here. Now, I want to make sure I do it before I forget, guys, because I had at least 20 comments on the last video that I didn't cover Neo. People are like, Neo, Nick, Neo, you forgot Neo, Nick. Why do you not love Neo? Guys, look, I do all these videos in one take. I tend to make mistakes sometimes. I know you guys don't like jump cuts, and you like the genuineness of it. So I'm going to make a mistake from time to time. I don't hate Neo. So I thought I might as well go ahead and make up for my mistake and cover Neo here. Now, here's the thing about Neo. I don't know if you guys will like what I have to say. However, as you all know, I'm fundamentally long-term on Neo. I love Neo as a project. But at the same time, in regards to making additions to the portfolio for Neo, I'm going to wait a little bit, okay? And I'll show you guys why I really feel this way. So I'm going to use a few different indicators. First and foremost, price levels, as always, really do matter in these markets, guys. I think that we're not going back down to the support level here at 200,000 Satoshis. I just don't believe it. It's too far for Neo to go down with how much, again, other coins and other market leaders are holding well compared to Bitcoin as it loses dominance. Not to mention, Neo itself, I love the ecosystem, but I do believe we could see a little bit more of a decline. We've obviously seen rejection at the 200-day here over the past week or so. So because of that, it's now acting as resistance, and it's looking for more price lowering over the next few days and weeks. So where are we thinking about it going to? Well, I think you're generally going to see it somewhere in the 600,000 to 500,000 Satoshi range. This previous support level of the past, as well as resistance back here at 600,000 Satoshis. Now, here's another thing that I'm looking for as well. Not only is that a good depletion down, if we got it down to 500,000 Satoshis, it's going to be 1/3 from the peak. That is a very healthy price range for it to go to. But along with that as well, I want to use an indicator here known as the TD sequentials. Now, this is going to look very scattered. The person who built this did a pretty decent job. It just looks very funky in regards to into TradingView. But long story short, I'm going to do a trading tip series on the TD sequential. It's one of my favorite indicators to use, especially on the weekly for these longer term cycles in cryptocurrencies. Long story short, though, as we see continued depleting candles, if we can get a 9th lowered candle here, so we're at 7 right now, if we can get the 9th candle on the TD sequential on the weekly for Neo here, we could possibly see a reversal. Not to mention, as we've seen in the past, the 50 week has served as a general zone where you can start to get bullish on Neo here. We've seen it in the past year. I think we're going to see a repetition here in regards to not only the TD sequentials signaling a reversal when we get to the 9th candle on the weekly, but along with that as well, hopefully seeing us get below a little bit below the 50 week and then looking at a buy opportunity. Now, again, you guys can assess it for yourselves. That's what I'm looking for. I think, generally speaking, we'll continue to deplete and get around this green line here for the 50 week and look exactly where that 50 week is riding to, around the 500,000 to 600,000 Satoshi range. So That's pretty much how I stand on NEO right now, guys. Hope that did some justice for catching up yesterday. If you guys liked it, give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up in the video, and leave a comment down below. Show your love. Show me you're listening, and show that you understand that I make mistakes and you still love me. I'm just kidding, guys. All right, let's go ahead and dive through these other market leaders. ADA BTC again. Cardano still generally just holding sideways, accumulating right now. I'm really just looking to see if this is just going to hold 2,000 Satoshis, and if it does, I'm going to start making probably some additions to it, because I think you're going to start seeing some serious resilience to the upside if it continues to hold 2,000, if it doesn't break lower, especially if you get back above 2,500 Satoshis. That's what I'm generally looking for price strength confirmation. Look what's coming up here, the 50-day. It could be a great time to break out above and make previous resistance become new support on the indicator. So that would be very interesting. And along with that as well, I'll go ahead and run through these. EOS still looking good, but at the same time, after this breakout candle, we didn't have, again, one of these nice slow pullbacks. We've had a pretty direct pullback with matching volume. So, again, I would have much rather bought EOS when it was down a little bit, but at the same time, with all the positive news coming out and Bitcoin being cheaper, might still have some room for this to run. And last but not least, I'll spend some time looking at Lumens, because we don't have too many headlines to dive into today. So Lumens here, getting rejected at the 50-day. I think personally what you're going to see with Lumens is it come back to the support level around 2,500 Satoshis and have that 200-day come up as support. And then we might have some continued upside for it. So that would be interesting. I'm going to wait till then before I make any moves on it. All right, so that's it for the technical analysis side of things, guys. Real quick, actually, as well, before I do forget, I think it would be good to let you guys know, I'm still holding my Lisk trade. I'm still generally up on it. I'm not up by a lot. I was actually up on it more the other day, but generally speaking, my stop level is down at around 110,000 Satoshis. I'm willing to take a little bit of a loss on this, but so far we haven't gotten there, and it's been holding on that hourly. Because of that, guys, I really think we're starting to see a reversal here. I'll even take it to what I think could be an indicator that this is finally going for a reversal. You can see for the longest time on the 4 hour, sorry, this isn't the right one, sorry. It is the hourly, my bad. On the hourly, we had basically been rejected at the 200 hour every time we tried to get above there, and we couldn't hold it. But this is the first time we've actually built some serious price support on the hourly. So because of that, I think we're starting to see some buy volume come in, and along with that as well, we're going to possibly see this again continue to reverse and go much higher than over here as well. So I think this is going to be a much larger trade. I might make this for the overall swing. Again, I like to pay the big swing, guys, big swings, not stress too much, and you can make some seriously good profits if you time the market right. But that's generally what I'm thinking of doing here. We'll have to see. I'll probably set my different sell levels in regards to how I plan to execute exiting out of the trade, but I think it could be something more long term. All right, anyways, enough TA there. Just thought I'd share it with you guys. Let's go ahead and dive into the headlines here. So on hack.com, we have some really positive news here. A few different platforms have been covering this, and we have the actual document, so we know it's actually true and confirmed that the SEC is initiating formal proceedings in regards to discussing the coveted Bitcoin ETF. So a lot of people are well aware that, as many of you might know, what an ETF is. It's an exchange-traded fund. We've been talking about it a lot on the channel. And what does that fancy terminology mean? Well, basically ETFs tend to be baskets of stocks in most cases. They tend to be, for example, let's say you wanted to own the entire S&P 500, which is one of the big indexes for the stock market, or the NASDAQ, or the Dow Jones, or maybe you wanted to own a lot of stocks in the semiconductor industry, or the food and beverage industry, whatever it may be. There's hundreds of ETFs out there that give you a diversified approach to investing in a wider range of the market rather than buying niche stocks, buying individual stocks, and betting that those are going to be winners. So that's the main function of most ETFs, but along with it as well, ETFs can make investing in commodities and specific types of assets and products much easier. So not only how they help with companies, but they could help in regards to things like gold with the GLD ETF or silver with the SLV ETF, which have proven really positive for gold and silver markets and helping retail investors get invested into these commodity spaces. Well, with the Bitcoin ETF, it's going to be the same case. It's going to be something where so long as you have an investment account or a brokerage account, you could buy a Bitcoin ETF and get a stake in Bitcoin. And you could also possibly go short if there's a short ETF in regards to, or it's an inverse ETF in that case. And sometimes we could do leveraged ETFs where, much like how you do leverage trading on BitMEX, which I don't recommend, it's usually a losing trade, especially with these ETFs because they depreciate. there will be much more flexibility for average investors as well as institutional investors to invest in this market, and it will be absolutely positive for price action. Well, there's no confirmed exact positive news in regards to, yes, we're launching a Bitcoin ETF, but the SEC is opening up the gates again to discussing a Bitcoin ETF, whereas it has been rejecting a lot of different ETFs in the market. We know the Winklevoss twins have come in with proposals for a Bitcoin ETF. We know that, for example, companies like ProShares, we've been seeing, I'm trying to think of the other ones as well. There's so many different types of ETF manufacturers and all these different financial derivatives and product producers. But basically speaking, there has been a lot of people who have proposed ETFs. You can look up the chart online of proposed Bitcoin ETFs, all of which have been rejected or still in review. Well, because of this, the SEC is starting to open up rule changes after a lot of news in regards to the CME and CBOE coming out. I think it was one of the two futures contract producers coming out and stating, look, you should be more open in regards to opening a Bitcoin ETF. Look at how successful the Bitcoin futures have been, and we can deal with a lot of the worries of price manipulation, of being illiquid, meaning not having enough liquidity in the market, all these general fears that the SEC has in order for retail investors and institutions to safely get involved in this market. So there is some genuine concerns. But if you go through here, there's some really positive news in regards to opening up talks. And again, you can go through this and dive into the document yourself, guys. I have the official sec.gov document here. It's down in the description, so you can dive into it for yourself and see if you find anything interesting that really catches your eye. But they're really starting to open up to the idea that even though they have some concerns on this market, the SEC, look guys, it's not a perfect institution, but it does a decent job of making sure that, look, if we're going to launch this, we want to make sure that this is going to serve as positive for markets and not damage our reputation as a financial regulator. And because of that, it's really good to see that they're at least opening up, but they're still keeping concerns in place because there is a lot of manipulation in this market. A lot of people just the other day were getting completely caught up with the idea of a cartel running the entire market. So it shows us that we're not exactly sure who's really moving the price of Bitcoin here. There are a lot of whales in the space that can do a lot of movement on price. So I get the concerns, but it is at least good to see that financial institutions that have built a reputation are showing, look, these future contracts are working quite well. They've actually, if anything, kind of helped to show that this can be something much larger, that we can make this rather than a $100 million market for Bitcoin. It can be a multi-trillion-dollar digital asset. So I think it's positive to see this. I think the SEC is going to continue positive talks, guys. Again, I know, for example, when I was covering that interview with the lady who had instituted the gold ETF, GLD, as we were just mentioning earlier, she thinks that it's going to take 5 years for Bitcoin ETF to come in. And as much as I respect her, and I respect the idea that, look, we shouldn't get too overtly exuberant, I will tell you guys, with stock markets going towards the tanker this year, I think you're going to obviously see a correction in the market. We're already starting to see the fear settle in. Again, I could go back and show you the charts, but you don't need me to tell you the 3 indexes are down most likely. It's obvious that a lot of people are going to want to exit money. And more than anything, I mean, it's like the perfect firestorm to put your money and to finally get an opportunity to invest in Bitcoin at fresh lows for the past few weeks and months. And along with that as well, the idea that it's an exit point from this overvalued asset market of stocks. I mean, this is a serious, serious opportunity, I think, in my personal opinion. So I think that you're obviously going to see financial pressure from institutions for the SEC to push one of these out, but to do it properly. All right. So anyways, again, check out that document. But the last headline I want to dive into, guys, is Monex confirming the CoinCheck exchange acquisition, and also announcing as well plans to IPO. So this is really positive news, guys. And this is the reason why it's positive is because it's going to give an entry point for institutions to get a piece of the action, to get a piece of investing in this market. And again, is going to add more mature, I hate to say this, I don't want to say credibility, but more maturity to the market in a sense, because as we get more of these opportunities coming into the space where people can get a stake in the crypto space, which so many people are trying to do. Just look at, for example, there was Long Island Tea put their blockchain in their name, and the price went up 1,000%. You can obviously see that there's some serious interest in this, and because of that, it gives open ideas to people really kind of investing into this space and getting a piece of the action. So there's a quotation down here that I think is really important as well. Another report from the Nikkei Asian Review indicated that Monex has aired plans to obtain regulatory approval for CoinCheck, so they want to get official approval from the FSA, with the aim of a June relaunch. Monex will also cited as saying it hopes to hold an IPO for CoinCheck shares at a future date, a move that would be the first for a Japanese cryptocurrency exchange. So going public on stock exchanges, that's what it means when they regard to an IPO. So really, really positive news, I think. Again, I don't think it could serve as negative in any way. It's going to add more value, probably more valuation for CoinCheck as an exchange, and again is going to give institutions, depending on what exchange it's on, an opportunity to get involved in it. So again, really guys, positive news. No crazy headlines outside of that though. But I want to hear what you guys think about all of this. What do you think about CoinCheck getting acquired by Monex and possibly IPOing? What do you guys think about the SEC talks? Do you think we're going to get an ETF sooner rather than later? And what do you guys think about all that's going on in the market right now? I'd love to hear what you guys think down in the comments down below. But until the next video, guys, thank you so much for watching. Trade safe, trade smart, and I'll see you all in the next video. Stay tuned.